Welcome to you, Howard Grief. Israel, in the news, in the debates globally, is very often referred to be an occupying force, an occupying state. Is this correct?
This is another falsehood. First, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity for inviting me to the studio to speak on behalf of Israel's legal case, which I consider to be an ironclad legal case. There is no such thing as occupied territories for Israel. This is the greatest hoax and myth of the last part of the 20th century and now in the 21st century. The territories which are described as occupied were part and parcel of the Jewish national home that was allotted to the Jewish people in 1920 in a boundary agreement that France and Great Britain concluded on December 23, 1920. And Judea, Samaria, and Gaza were included in the territory of Palestine, which was synonymous with the Jewish national home. Therefore, any area of the Jewish national home is Jewish designated land. It is not Arab land. It is not occupied land. What does occupied mean? It means that it belongs to a foreign sovereign. And under the Fourth Geneva Convention, there was no foreign sovereign. Actually, it's Articles 42 and 43 of the Hague Regulations of 1907 requires that in order for occupation to take place, there must be a foreign sovereign. Now, who was the foreign sovereign? Jordan was not a legitimate foreign sovereign. No one recognized their sovereignty over Judea, Samaria, and eastern Jerusalem, except Pakistan and partly Great Britain. And in any case, from a technical viewpoint, it cannot be occupied territories, but from a substantive viewpoint, it's altogether fallacious and actually ridiculous because this land, as I repeat, was allotted to the Jewish national home, to the Jewish people. And Jews were entitled to settle anywhere in Judea and Samaria and all over the land of Israel.
People say that this is the Palestinian territories. Has it ever been under the Palestinian sovereignty?
Well, when the distribution of the Ottoman Empire provinces in the Middle East was distributed by the principal Allied powers, Britain, France, Italy, and Japan, there was no nation called Palestinians. So it's complete falsification of what took place. I can only repeat myself again, this land was allotted to the Jewish people, so that therefore there was no Palestinians who were given this land. Furthermore, the Arabs who have changed their name to Palestinians is another myth, because the Jews were the Palestinians all during the Mandate period, which extended from 1920 to 1948. The Arabs, who now rebrand themselves as Palestinians, they rejected this term. They said, we're part of independent Syria. We're South Syrians. Their leaders, such as Ahmed Shkulkari, said this specifically as late as the 1950s. They rejected the term. As late as 1967, when UN Resolution 242 was adopted by the UN Security Council, they were not called Palestinians. They were called simply refugees. Apparently, sometime in 1969, the United Nations adopted the term Palestinians. But this is, again, a falsification of history, because the Jewish people were known as the Palestinians all during the first half of the 20th century.
It is referred to 1947, the year when Israel was established, or the legality of Israel was founded. Is this correct?
No, this is incorrect. Again, the whole political and diplomatic and legal history has been forgotten, has been erased, because people start from 1967 or at best 1948. The United Nations did not create the Jewish state. This is another misconception. The Jewish state theoretically came into being with the adoption of the San Remo Resolution in April 1920. The thing is, though, the Jews did not govern Palestine. It was given over to Great Britain, who was given the administration of Palestine. But in 1920, the land was allotted to the Jewish people, and Britain, as the mandatory and as the trustee and as the tutor, were supposed to guide the Jewish people into eventual independence. This was the idea behind the Balfour Declaration and the San Remo Resolution of April 24, 25, 1920. The Jewish state could have come into being at any time between I'm talking about an independent Jewish state, at any time before 1948. There was only one condition that needed to be fulfilled. That was the Jews were supposed to become a majority of the population. Now, that is the reason why Article 6 of the mandate was made part of the mandate, to allow the Jews to come en masse to Palestine. But what happened is the British actually sabotaged Article 6. They put all kinds of restrictions on Jews entering Palestine, and they had no right to do so. Jews were supposed to come freely to what was called their national home. And if that had been the case, Jews would have formed the majority of the country, but Britain stood in the way. Britain was supposed to be the mandatory and the trustee to bring this about. Instead, they were the obstacle. And therefore, the Jewish state did not come in, the independent Jewish state did not come into existence until 1948. But it could have come into existence sooner had the British fulfilled their obligations under the mandate.
Exactly when did it become binding international law that this region, these territories, this area was going to be a part of the Jewish nation?
Okay, the answer to this question is twofold. The answer comes in 1919 and 1920. In 1919, the representatives of the victorious Principal, Allied, and Associated Powers met in Paris at the Paris Peace Conference. There, they adopted the covenant of the League of Nations, which was the covenant was the achievement of President Woodrow Wilson, but Article 22 of the covenant, which dealt with the mandate system, was the achievement of General Jan Christian Smuts, a South African statesman who was a member of the Imperial War Cabinet of David Lloyd George. And it was General Smuts, it was General Smuts, who later became Prime Minister of South Africa. It was he who devised the mandate system. And he was also one of the framers of the Balfour Declaration. And he listed 6 countries that would come under the mandate. One of them was Palestine. In 1919, Palestine did not mean Arab Palestine, it meant Jewish Palestine. The evidence for that is the agreement that was concluded between Emil Faisal, who represented the Arab National Movement, and Chaim Weizmann, who represented the Zionist movement. They concluded an agreement on January 3, 1919, and the agreement envisaged both an Arab and a Jewish state with borders separating them. And that was January 3. On January 30th of that same month, the contribution made by General Smuts was adopted by the Supreme Council of the Principal Allied Powers. And that put in force the mandate system. And under that system, Palestine was to be tutored into independence by an advanced nation. That was, as I say, 1919. Already we know that Palestine did not officially exist in 1919. It was a concept, just as Syria and Iraq and Arabia, for that matter, were concepts. There were no borders yet. Then, a year later, the same principal Allied powers, minus the United States, because the United States had not declared war against Turkey, they were the associated power. They were involved in the approving the mandate system in 1919. But in 1920, it was then decided to distribute the Middle Eastern provinces of the Ottoman Empire. And that was done at the San Remo Peace Conference. It began on April 18th and ended on April 26, 1920. 2 days were devoted to Palestine. Those sessions were held on the 24th and 25th of April, and it is there where they adopted what I have called the San Remo Resolution, distributing the territories to the national beneficiaries of the mandate. Iraq went to the Arab side, Syria went to the Arab side, but Palestine did not go to the local Arabs of Palestine. It went to the Jews of the world, to the Jewish people, to world Jewry. This was the unique identity of the Palestine Mandate. Other mandates were given over to the local inhabitants, but not in the case of Palestine. In 1920, the Jews were 80,000 only, and the Arabs far outnumbered them. But this was the unique feature of the Palestine Mandate. It was designated for the Jewish national home, for the Jewish world, for the Jewish people, for those Jews who would eventually emigrate to Palestine and become the majority. That was the idea of Lord Arthur James Balfour, the Foreign Secretary of Britain, and David Lloyd George, the Prime Minister, and that was adopted at the San Remo Peace Conference by France, who were represented by its Prime Minister, Alexander Millerand, and its Secretary for Foreign Affairs, Philip Berthelot, and the Italian Prime Minister, Francesco Nitti, as well as the Japanese Ambassador, Mitsui.
So what you say is that even the Arabic states was established during this period, because in the Western world, it's one of the accusation against Israel is that Israel is a result of Western colonialism. But the case is that also the Arab states were established during this period.